Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Parity Present. For those that don't know, Parity is a gender equality network dedicated to driving inclusion in the boardroom, spotlighting women in leadership. We support women across different tech sectors, whether it's fintech, health tech, green tech, ed tech, and AI. We also launched our website earlier in the year, so feel free to scan the QR code below to learn more about the history, how to join, and any of our future events. From now, Parity Present will be our virtual newsletter and will be once a month where I will have a conversation with a female in leadership and learn more from their experience. So for November, I thought it would be best to bring the founder and the woman behind the whole success of Parity, Kesi Johnson. So yeah. Hi, Kesi.
Hello.
Nice. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, thank you for having me. Happy to
Good.
be here.
So for absolutely. For those that don't know, Kessie is the SVP of Client Success here at Levin, and she's the founder of Parity. Kessie, I'll just let you go ahead and introduce yourself and Parity.
I think that's it. Yeah, day job, Senior Vice President of Client Success for Levin. So working really closely with our clients across fin, health, green, and edtech. And then by night, founder of Parity, focused on, as you said perfectly yourself, it's all about championing women, connecting them, and supporting one another on that journey through your careers to the boardroom.
Yeah. But what inspired you to start Parity?
I think the inspiration for Parity comes from I've always been passionate about inclusion principles my whole career. I think that used to manifest in mentoring, other women within recruitment organizations that I've worked in. I've run employee resource groups before, focused on connecting women on a global scale within the company that I worked for. I guess that there's this natural evolution then that's taken place whereby I've taken the principles that work within an ERG and drive collaboration and drive connection and success for women within an organization and pushing that externally into a community. So I think it's been very organic, but the inspiration really is the world around us. I feel like I'm surrounded by incredible women, inspiring women, impactful women. We're just not always on the headlines. We're not always the ones being quoted. We're not always the ones as directors of movies. It's systemic. So I think it's my one small way of trying to tip that balance and help present a bit more of an equitable future.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you created the whole idea of Parity and it started as an employee resource group. But how was the transition, or how did you make the transition from it being an employee resource group to basically having this community and external network of amazing female leaders?
It was unexpected. Like, I won't say that it was, always the plan, because it absolutely wasn't. I would, through building out the Parity Employee Resource Group, at Levin, what does that mean? It means giving the women in our organization and their allies access to genuine meritocracy, making their careers exciting, making them feel like they can get to where they want to get. Often the way that came out of like focus groups that we were setting, people wanted more connection to their industry. So, if I'm a woman in green tech recruitment, how do I feel really embedded in my market? How do I feel confident approaching CEOs in that market? All of that is directly linked to my career success. So one thing that I started doing was inviting senior leaders within different industries to come in and speak to the Parity Employee Resource Group, just talk about their careers, really bring it to life. Michelle Tran has done that within the fintech space for us. Anu Schultz, also within fintech, came in and spoke for us. There are a number of amazing people that have given up their time to come in and speak to help inspire the women internally at Levin. But what I found as I started putting together these different panels or interviews, things a bit like this, I would get inbound requests on LinkedIn, or I would get emails from people saying, hey, did you interview so-and-so? I must have missed it. And I would have to explain, no, like, this wasn't an event that I ran. It was actually just for our employee resource group. Sorry about that. And then I basically stopped apologizing for it and started creating external events that more people could come to. So really driven by demand. And like I said, it's evolved really organically, which has been such a surprise, but such a delight. We only started in January of this year, so there's a lot Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And what was, if you still remember, what was the first event that you hosted for the Parity External Network? And did you get any key lessons from that?
Yeah, I definitely still remember. It was Money 2020 last October. It's not the one
Mhm.
just gone, the one prior. I hosted a panel speaking about fintech's role in closing the gender wealth gap.
Mhm.
So that was the topic. I was joined by amazing, amazing speakers. It's a bit like a rock star cast that at the time I couldn't believe these people wanted to like share their expertise.
Yeah.
But Nicole Casperson, founder and CEO of FinTech is Fem, was on the panel. Marla Sofa, who's the CEO of Know Me, which is a financial wellness app, was on the panel. She's ex BlackRock, just absolute
Mhm.
rock star in the fintech space. Natasha Vernier, who's the CEO of Cable, she raised a Series A round, I think in 2023, which again really challenging climate to raise. So again, superstar. She's head of financial crime at Monzo Bank for people.
Mhm.
They have launched here, but at the time it's a bit more British.
Yeah.
So again, Rockstar, and Anna Connors, who's the SVP of Embedded Finance for Adyen. So these were super impressive people that wanted to come and share their expertise, speaking not specifically from a DEI point of view, but speaking about what doors fintech can open, and innovation within financial technology can open for women specifically. So that was the topic. We had a bit of a drama actually booking the venue. Anyone that's ever tried to book something in the Venetian during Money 2020 can attest that, yeah, they don't love it when you do that. So controversially, that was a bit hard. But I think the biggest lesson that I got out of it was that there is space for a network like this. I think I historically had been a bit hesitant of, I'm industry adjacent. I'm not physically within fintech, health tech, green tech. Is there space, and do I need to insert myself into this conversation and create these spaces? Do we need another women's network? All of those were sort of things racing through my mind. But off the back of doing that first in-person event, the feedback that I got from the room was awesome. It was only small, maybe 30 people in the room. But the feedback was, I don't think I would have put my hand up in a different room. I don't think I would have asked my question. I've since then caught up with women who attended that event and have then spoken to me about, the connections that they were able to make thanks to that event. And it's small, but in that moment, I was like, if I hadn't have put that on, those connections wouldn't have happened, and they're small, but they're important.
Mhm.
So I think the takeaway was it's okay to, take up some space on this topic. Like there is a need. And don't try to book things in the Venetian whilst there's a massive conference on.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I love also the work you've been doing. I feel Parity has been very impactful for a lot of women as well, especially like whether they're in leaders or trying to be ones. It's always great to see the mission driving and seeing more women succeed. But how can someone join Parity? And is there any requirements to join Parity, or is it for anyone?
No, absolutely not. So Parity is a space that centers the experience of women in the workplace. And if that is something that you want to hear about, learn about, and champion, then there is space in this network for you. Like it really is that simple. I love that you personally have taken up the mantle of being an incredible ally. You put your hand up to run this newsletter because you're passionate about this. It's not really about being a woman per se. It's about wanting to be in spaces that center that conversation. In terms of like how to physically join, we have a website. So you can head to the website, which is parity-community.com. We're very active on LinkedIn. That's kind of where we live right now. So again, you can give a follow on the LinkedIn page. You can reach out to myself directly, via LinkedIn and via the website. Any requests through the join form on the website come directly to me. So
Perfect. Yeah, awesome. And thank you for that. But how did you, obviously, you started as an ERG, and how did you start building the community and the external community to like having around 600 members now?
yep. Which blows my mind.
Yeah,
Like
it is
some days I'm
great.
like, oh, really? So I mean, again, very organically. Like this is a matter of, a joke, but like I decided at the start of this year that if I was going to make this something, that I was going to be the CEO of Parity and treat it like that. It doesn't make money, but like treat it that way. And, it's my 5 to 9 after my 9 to 5, and just put in the hours that are required to do that. So it's been a big commitment from a time standpoint, but it's from the event itself, who attended, reaching out to them, getting a real genuine understanding of why they felt Parity would be of value to them and how I could help support them, and really personally connecting the dots between like early people who were involved in the community when it was so small. And I've tried to maintain that really hands-on approach as we've grown this year. I'm excited to hopefully be able to put some additional investment into communication across the existing network as we continue to get bigger and bigger. But yeah, I would say painstakingly and manually. That's how.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're only growing from here, which is very exciting. Yeah. And I know obviously earlier in this month, if a lot of people have checked it out probably, but we launched our top 100 women in tech in each sector, whether it's fintech, health tech, ed tech, or green tech. What was your thought behind starting that whole campaign and giving shout outs to 400 women?
Yeah, I think for, what was the idea behind it? I think that one of those core pillars of Parity, we connect, we help people access mentoring, we champion people, we spotlight them. Like a spotlight is a really powerful thing. And I think that, there are some very prestigious lists out there that cost a lot of money. Or you have to know a lot of people in order to get onto them. They're amazing things to have and amazing things for people to be able to shout about. But, what's the harm in building our own list? Like, why shouldn't we be able to set the criteria for what we think is somebody that's truly impactful? It doesn't cost us anything to pull that list together and push it out. And by using the Levin platform, that's really, really special. Through Levin, we are connected to the most innovative companies across the tech ecosystem. Therefore, we have a really rare and special opportunity we've made 400 women incredibly visible within their own sector, within, mirroring disciplines. It's something really special. I have to give an enormous shout out to Chelsea Harry, who is a founding Parity member. She's our global marketing director. This is a, brainchild of hers that she ran like a drill sergeant to make sure that we were on time, that we were, promoting this in the places that need to be promoted so that we could receive as many nominations as we did. Built that beautiful report and has shared some incredible carousels on LinkedIn. It's been probably the biggest thing that I've been the most proud of this year, and could not have done it without Chelsea. So that's very important to say.
Yeah, no, shout out to Chelsea. She's been the woman behind all the tech scenes. She's the one that
crying on the back end for sure.
Exactly. Absolutely. But how was the nomination process like, and how long did it take to nominate someone?
So we ran the nominations for a month, roughly. So people had a month to, access the Parity website, submit nominations for women that they felt were creating an impact in their area of the tech ecosystem. We received, I think, just over 160, give or take, nominations, which, again, both of us, like Chelsea and I, when we were looking at them, just floored. I was a bit like, well, we'll get maybe 10 nominations will come in, and then we'll do, market research to build out the rest of the list. But yeah, it was over 100. I think about 160. Which again, not what we were expecting at all. And then we partnered with a marketing agency, The Leap, who helped us then do the market research into who are the top, 100 fintechs, health techs, green techs, and ed techs that are really being disruptive in their space, that are truly innovating, that are championing that like tech for good, and then who are the women within those organizations that are just paving the way, essentially. And the nominations were awesome. I was sat in a coffee shop reading through them, like making sure that we'd compiled the list and including, as many people as we possibly could. And not completely crying like a baby, but like you get little tears in your eyes. Like you've got people nominating the women in C-suite that inspire them. You've got people that are more senior nominating people that are newer to the team, that aren't necessarily impactful because they've got a C-level title, but they're impactful because of how they work, how they show up. So it was just really amazing to see people recognizing each other, nominations from women and from men. So yeah, it was a really, really beautiful thing to be a part of, to be honest with you, not to be too cheesy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And were there any nominations that stood up for you? Let's talk about like one person in each tech sector.
Yeah, absolutely. So in prepping for this, obviously, I just went back and thought again, like I said, sat in a coffee shop, what were the ones that really struck me? So one that I was looking at the fintech list, Vishaka Gupta, her nomination, she works at Neum. The person that put her forward spoke about her being the only woman in the product organization in the US, which is an amazing thing to be spotlighted for in the first instance. She's built some of the most complex products in foreign exchange. She was described as a trailblazer. They spoke about her superpower being taking complex problems and explaining them really simply. And the quote that stuck with me and that I picked out was that she was applauded by leaders, but also inspires the junior PMs in her team. So again, when we talk about the impact that someone can have in a business, that stood out to me immediately. I can also just see a little comment on the side from Renee Dawson saying, thank you for being recognized. And yeah, I mean, you are so welcome, but also we're so humbled at Parity, and it's such a privilege to be able to spotlight you. So no worries. On the health tech list, Hannah McKenney is the co-founder and CEO of Starling Medical. The reason behind her nomination that came through on the form was around her raising funding. We know that less than 2% of VC funding goes to women. It's a stat that myself and other people that are operating in this space talk about time and time again. So again, I think it's really important to spotlight women that are out there securing funding and leading teams. On the green tech side was Cassandra John, CFO at Ardent. The person that put her forward for her nomination said that she was, inspirational representation of Black women in the C-suite. Something really close to my heart, and that kind of idea of you can't be what you can't see. So how impactful is it again to create an additional platform for a leader like Cassandra to be visible to other people? I think that's really important. And then for EdTech, Kelly May's nomination really stood out to me. She's a product leader at Class Dojo. The description behind her nomination was how she took work that she'd done and skills that she'd built at Facebook, and then brought them to an incredibly mission-led startup focused on giving kids an incredible education. The product went from 0 to 2.5 million monthly active kids within a 2-year span. So again, taking something, you can go to this FANG companies or whatever and get a big fat paycheck, which is awesome, and we hope that too. But it's amazing to then take that and apply it to something that's got such an important mission. So that's those are the nominations that stood out to me.
Yeah, those are very inspiring nominations, and shout out to all the leadership women that's made it to the list, and even that didn't make it to the list. Everyone probably have a reason of why you are very successful, which is always great and love to see. But yeah, I'm great. I'm glad it's been a success having the campaign and having spotlighting all those women in different tech sectors. But with that being said, do we have any events coming up for Parity or any panels you're speaking at?
Anything coming up? Yes, we definitely do. So I'm actually speaking, for me personally, I am chatting on a panel on the 3rd of December, I want to say. Yep, QR code's there, thank goodness. On the 3rd of December, speaking about intergenerational optimization. That's kind of from 2 angles. So obviously one from within my role at Levin and the way that we operate here internally. We're really proud champions of the graduate model. If you're giving people fresh out of school platform tools and training, there is no limit on what they can achieve, and you're testament to that, Mo. But there's no limits on what they can achieve, and talking about some of those principles and how we help people translate from speaking internally among Gen Z as a whole through their millennial managers, and then out to CEOs and stakeholders that are interfacing with on a day-to-day basis. In general, are going to be from a range of generations, but also through parity as well. That's relevant. How can we learn, pay respect to women from generations millennial and up that have really paved the way, through the boomers, through the Gen Xers, and how can Gen Z women open themselves up to being able to communicate and learn from them. And on the flip side, reverse mentoring is really important. So how do we connect leaders in the C-suite and other areas of businesses to the up and coming workforce and building that communication? I think that's something that's going to continue to be a workforce challenge for a little while. So really excited to be chatting on that. So you can scan the QR code and join me there. From a parity standpoint, we're definitely going to be doing a 2025 Outlook event. So I want to put something together whereby we're bringing all the women featured on the 100 list will receive an invite. We will be hosting it in New York, which I appreciate might be a barrier for some, but it's where we have our space. But setting up an event where we can, one, bring these women together to celebrate, but two, have a couple of speakers talk about what we're expecting within those respective tech markets into 2025. So a bit of an early peek behind the curtain of maybe what you can expect from the VC landscape as well. So those are the two.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm coming to your panel in December.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm really excited for it.
Okay.
I signed up and I got approved. So everyone
Great.
sign up.
See you there.
Yeah, exactly. And definitely looking forward to our next event in New York for Parity. But with that being said, if there is one advice that you have for women that want or are in leadership, what would it be?
Immediately my brain goes to the place of like, am I qualified to give advice to anybody? But then obviously it's really important to recognize that I'm actually a woman in leadership. So in some capacity, clearly. But I think it's important to acknowledge that that's where the brain goes sometimes. I think the only advice I would give is the biggest personal learn that I've had. And I think that's around trusting your gut. Really trusting your gut, but working with stakeholders, whether that's upward management, whether that's sort of peer side to side. But the most important thing you can do is trust your gut and get other people to trust your gut. So if you feel like something is really, really going to work, or you feel like there is genuinely an issue that needs addressing, you need to trust your gut on that. But you also need to find ways to communicate and, spur other people onto this thing that, oh, well, if Kesi's got an issue with XYZ, I know that's not Kesi complaining about something. I know that that's Kesi's got these are her priorities. This company, this mission, whatever it is, this is also her priority. Therefore, I know that that's something that needs addressing, and it's about proactively working together on it, not that, Kesi's making a complaint, for example. So trusting your own gut, but also being able to communicate with others and getting them to trust your gut too. Those are probably the advice pieces that I would give.
Yeah, no, those are great advice. And now to the hardest question of this whole podcast that I ask everyone I interview. If there is one meal that you can eat for the rest of your life, what would it be and why?
That is actually the hardest question, because I like everything. One meal that I can eat for the rest of my life.
It's very tough.
It's so hard. I'm British. I'm just going to say roast dinner. I don't know if that's accurate, but I think I'm going to say a roast dinner. I can't imagine never having one ever again. So maybe a roast dinner. But now my brain's like, is it sushi? Would I want sushi forever? So I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm going to say roast dinner. I'm going to double down. Roast dinner.
Okay. I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Kesi, for joining me today. And thanks to everyone that's been listening to every episode. I really appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned till next month.
I'm excited. I realized that we have about 4 mins, and I can see someone asked a question around how businesses can get started with their own ERGs. I think that if your business is looking to set up an employee resource group. I think you need to know what the goal is for that ERG. I think that's one of the toughest things. So is that focused on, women in your workplace? Is it focused on, employees who identify as BAME or like people of color? Is it a pride community? Is it about, mental health and accessibility? What is who is it for, and what are the goals? So getting people together who are interested in participating in that ERG and doing a bit of a focus group, get an understanding of the mission, get an understanding of the goals, and then you need a C-level sponsor. You need somebody that's going to advocate and champion this at board level, somebody that's going to help you translate the goals of the ERG and attach them to, measurable KPIs within your organization, whether it's revenue or whatever that looks like, but it has to be tied in with your wider business objectives. It just says LinkedIn user. I can't see who actually asked the question, but if you do want to drop a note to me on LinkedIn directly, I'm very happy to pick that up. We have a couple of templates that we've used through Parity, and offered then those to clients of Levin, and we're always happy to share some of that information if you'd like it.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, perfect. Right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Kesi, again for joining us, and I hope you have a great day and see you literally in 2 minutes.
See you in 2 minutes. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And thanks everyone for listening, and